Welcome to Virtual Flight Experience. Today you will be flying our replica Boeing 737-800 flight simulator. But before you take your flight, we'd like to familiarise you with some of the aircraft's main systems and flight controls. The Boeing 737 is a twin-engined short to medium-range aircraft which is used by most airlines throughout the world and is capable of carrying up to 189 passengers. It is the highest-selling jet airliner in history, with more than 4,000 aircraft in regular service today. On average, a 737 is departing or landing somewhere in the world every 5 seconds. You will be sitting in the right seat next to your flight instructor, who is there to assist you during your flight. As a crew, you will fly to one or more of over 24,000 airports worldwide. Whether you are flying a city-to-city sector flight, following airline-based procedures, or mastering your takeoffs and landings by flying circuits, you will experience what it's like to fly a modern jet airliner. Our simulator is a replica of the Boeing 737-800. The cockpit layout, instrumentation, systems and flight controls are very similar to the real thing. In fact, our simulator is used by qualified commercial pilots for instrument flight training. When you enter the cockpit, don't be too overwhelmed by the many lights and switches. Your instructor is there to assist you and will brief you further before you take off. You'll be introduced to the steering wheel, which is called the yoke. This is used to control the aeroplane in flight. A light grip on the yoke and smooth movements is all that's required to simply guide the aircraft through the air. Think of the yoke as the steering wheel in your car, but with the added ability to make the aircraft go up and down once the aeroplane is flying. When on the ground, the yoke has no effect on steering, so instead you will use the rudder pedals and steering tiller for directional control. The rudder pedals are also used to activate the wheel brakes. Once you take off, you'll use the yoke alone for flying the aircraft. In the centre of the cockpit we have the thrust levers. Similar to the accelerator in a car, the thrust levers control the thrust or power of the engines. There is one thrust lever for each engine. As you push the thrust levers forward, you are increasing thrust and the aircraft will accelerate. As you pull them back, the aircraft will slow down. During landing, your instructor will use reverse thrust to help you stop on the runway. Reverse thrust is activated by pulling these two levers halfway to engage, and then smoothly back to increase the amount of reverse thrust used. On the throttle quadrant, we also have the flap lever and the speed brake lever. The flaps help increase lift for takeoff and landing. The speed brake is used to help slow the aeroplane down during the landing roll. Once airborne, you will primarily use your flight instruments to fly the aeroplane. These indicate where you are in the air and help you control the aircraft. There are 6 screens on the flight deck in front of you to display the main instruments, which your instructor will explain during your flight. The display on your far right is called the primary flight display. This is the main instrument you will use during flight. It consists of an attitude indicator or artificial horizon to show you what the aeroplane is doing in relation to the real horizon, and provides essential data such as airspeed, altitude and attitude. The next screen to the left is the navigation display. This is a moving map display which shows the position of the aircraft over the ground and what direction it's pointing, similar to a sat-nav in a car. Your instructor will guide you through its features in flight. Finally, in the centre, there are 2 screens displaying the aircraft's primary and secondary engine instruments, including thrust, temperature and fuel quantity. Below these screens are our flight management computers, or FMCs, which are the main flight computers or the brains of the aircraft. Moving behind the thrust levers, we have the pedestal, where the radios and navigation equipment are located. Above us we have the overhead panels, which primarily consist of the aircraft's systems, including fuel, electrical, hydraulics, air conditioning and pressurization, engine starting systems and external lighting. Finally, moving down to the glare shield, we have the Mode Control Panel, or MCP, which controls the aircraft's autopilot and flight director systems. This completes a general overview of the flight deck. And don't worry, your instructor will give you further guidance throughout your flight. This is your last chance to request a recording of your flight, so please let your instructor know before you go into the simulator if you would like us to record the flight for you to take away. Also, don't forget to ask us about the great deals we have available today if you'd like to come back or gift an experience to someone you know. Enjoy your virtual flight experience.